Coming to you live on location, this is the Between the Benches podcast, where we will discuss anything and everything hockey related. Let's drop the puck and get the action underway. All right, and welcome into another episode of the Between the Benches podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dak. Welcome in. With me, as always, are my two fellow Canadian friends, Brock, Graham. I should call you by your first name. Forgive me. Canadaddy is with us this evening. And Graham. Fellas, how are we doing?
I mean, I'm doing fantastic, as per usual. I didn't shoot 560 at league tonight, so that's a bonus. I forget what I ended up with. I think it was like 670 or something like that, somewhere around there. A little bit better. A little bit of a better.
You beat your coach? Or was it beat your coach?
I did beat my coach. I did. That's nice. That's nice. Very well done.
Is Gary the coach?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Sure.
Nice.
Touching moment.
It was.
Touching moment.
Nice.
Hey, we are all healthy.
Yeah, right?
We
I was going to say, no one's sick.
Lungs. We are.
Yeah.
You can actually hear us.
Yeah. Got a little energy back in the room.
If Ish Mobile is working, you'll hear us.
Absolutely.
So we are ready.
So, well, before we get into it, we do have a loaded episode. Just a little housekeeping. Make sure to give us a follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff on the socials, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to follow, subscribe, like. We always appreciate it. But we will touch on some NHL news and notes before we kind of get into our 3 stars and talk about, obviously, what happened in Boston. So, we wanted to first touch on Ovi. Ovi's kind of the first thing up for grabs here. It got released today that he is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a left fractured fibia. So he was on a heater. He had, 15 goals and 18 games played. Obviously, he's chasing the scoring record as well. So anything to say? I mean, it's obviously a big hit to our fantasy team. Shout out to Ginger and I. So I don't want to have a big pity party here. So guys, feel free to chime in.
I think it's just a big hit to hockey in general. I think everyone who's a fan of hockey is just on their seats waiting to see what Ovi does every game. And now without Ovi for 4 to 6 weeks, it's not as exciting.
And on a more obvious note, I think, and I thought this is absolutely where you're going to go with that. Are we going to see the record broken this year? Like, now he's going to come off this injury. He's going to be cold probably to start. I don't know. Like, you're losing. Well, how many games do they play in a month? You're losing probably between 10, 15-ish games minimum there. Like, actually, no, it's probably more. No, 10, 15 is probably reasonable. But either way, like, do we see the record this year anymore? I was 100% confident we were going to see it the way he started. Like, I would have said trade deadline, like, is the new start planning the parade around then for the goal record being broken. But now, not so much.
Is this his first big injury?
Oh, actually, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes.
I did a little bit of homework. So his longest amount of games missed consecutively were 6 before this. So this is going to be the longest stretch of games he's missed in his whole career. And that was back in 2009, mind you. That's when he missed 6 games with an upper body injury.
I knew he was a warrior, like an Iron Man like that. Like, I knew he hadn't missed much time. That's almost unbelievable. Only 6 games?
At this age, with this long of injury, will he bounce back how he started?
That's what I mean. I don't know. I mean, I hope he does. I think anyone cheering against Ovi at this point is like just mean. That's incredible though. Only 6 games. That's wild.
Yeah. And from an on-ice standpoint, thank God they have Connor McMichael, to pick up the slack because this team's definitely they're gonna miss his goal scoring. I mean, like I said before, he had 15 and 18 games.
You've been dying to talk about this guy. Should I deep dive in? Should we throw him in the fantasy corner?
Maybe because he's been on a heater. So we'll see what happens. But also announced today, Freddie Anderson is going to miss 8 to 12 weeks. He is expected to have surgery on a knee. He's missed the previous 11. Last time he played was October 26th. Obviously, Carolina's been playing really well with and without him. So do we think he's going to come back and actually play in the playoffs, or should we just write Freddie Anderson off and call it a career? You think?
I don't think so. They've always gone with depth in the goalie position. I think that Kachekhov's obviously going to hold the reins for at least the games going on, but Freddie has been leaned on heavy in his career, but they're definitely going to work him into the lineup. And then playoffs, it's whoever's hot. Whoever the room trusts gets the crease.
They just got a shutout with Spencer Martin. Like, that was his first career shutout ever as a goalie in this league. And I'm not to shit on Spencer Martin, but I didn't know who that guy was until I saw, it's his first career shutout. That's great. Awesome. Yeah. Carolina's fine. I think your question is more, does Freddie come back and play like at Freddie level? I mean, he started this season well. And was he the one with blood clot issues last year? Am I remembering that right?
I believe so.
Can't say.
He came back from let's assume that that's true. I know that's what Besser was dealing with too in the playoffs. But yeah, he came back from blood clots and he looked amazing to start this year. I think that this is just another hockey injury that, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. It's Carolina too. Who cares? They're gonna make the playoffs. They're gonna be great, and then they'll probably blow the conference final. That's what they'll do.
God, spoken like a true Leafs fan, this guy.
Oh yeah, Leafs, they're losing in 7. It's over. They've lost in 7, round 1.
Well, also back in the news, speaking of the Leafs, by the way, Darnell Nurse was back in skating with the Oilers for the first time since he got hit by Ryan Reeves of the who does he play? Oh, that's right, the Toronto Maple Leafs. But yeah, he missed his third straight game tonight. They played the Wild. I haven't looked at the final score yet, but hopefully we get Darnell Nurse back, eh?
I think with this week should maybe take a small discourse here and discuss. Did you guys see the hit White Cloud laid on Nyes last night? What did you guys think about that? Just thoughts in general.
I think it was clean, but I do think that there is a responsibility that White Cloud has that he ignored. Similar to the Ryan Reeves, he has a responsibility. However, I do think that the hit was illegal that Reeves has done. So White Cloud goes low to high. It's again, you can watch it in slow-mo, split-second decisions. You can only have so much control. I do think that White Cloud's hit was legal. Whether or not it's safe is different, but by the rules, it is a legal hit.
I think we agree then. I just think I had a few conversations about this, particularly tonight while I was at League. And I just don't like the comparison. People are comparing this hit that Reeves laid on Nurse to the White Cloud hit. I'm like, how is that not the same thing? Because it really isn't. Like, I need to maybe try and find some other angles because everyone's screaming like the principal point of contact's the head. It's the same thing. And then I don't know. To me, it just looks like the Reeves hit was I think Nurse turned sooner than Reeves was expecting, and that's what made Reeves panic and make the bad choice to, lay the hit to the head. If he maybe skates more towards the boards in a more of an arcing fashion, I think the whole play is completely different, and we're having a different discussion. But I don't think the two hits are the same, so I think we're on the same page there. I just thought it was interesting how it happened like last night and everyone's screaming bloody murder. Every Leafs fan I listened to for the last 24 hours has said, like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, God, every angle I've seen, I'm like, I don't know, guys. I think that's just it's a hard hit. Like, it's pretty violent, but I don't see anything illegal about it. So maybe
I think this week what has shown in me is kind of the difference between the old school style of hockey and today's style of hockey. Old school, the skater always had the responsibility to protect himself and not get hit. And today you see it as the hitters have the responsibility and the skaters just get hit. So the mentality is different. The responsibility kind of is now shifted onto the defensive player. Mm-hmm. Whether or not I think that's fair or right, that's kind of the narrative.
I would say it's more right. Like, I think more responsibility should be on the hitter. But you could even look at that particular White Cloud Nyes hit. Nyes is kind of like tilting forward a bit. Like, he's not in a regular position. I'm not saying it's Nyes' fault he gets, absolutely killed like that. It's just there is some responsibility on both sides, and I think more responsibility should be on the hitters. And yeah, I don't know. I was just curious, and I thought bringing this up now while we're on the Reeves hit made some sense. So, yeah.
But Nurse is back. Almost. He's
almost. He's back in skating. So, I mean, it's hard as a hitter when people are in certain positions. Me as a, experienced hitter myself, I feel like just when people get in certain positions, it's really hard to avoid, contact or even injury. So shout out to Nurse. Speaking of coming back from injury and, knee injuries, if you will, Thatcher Demko is traveling with the Canucks again. He doesn't have a return. He did speak with reporters yesterday being Wednesday, as this is being recorded. He did, I guess, actually, what do you want to say, specify his injury. So I'm not a medical professional, but I did write this down. A popliteus injury, which is apparently a muscle on the back directly behind your knee. So behind your ligaments and stuff like that. So again, I may have been pronouncing that incorrectly, but he's traveling with the team. If he's going to be listed as the backup, you assume he's going to play sometime in the near future, right? I mean, they're paying him too much money to be a traveling roster spot, basically.
Yeah, but they're also paying him too much to risk re-aggravating the injury.
I did hear on, I think it was 32 Thoughts, actually, they said that, and this is at the start of the season when we found out he wasn't going to start, that this injury isn't exactly something you can 100% fix. It's something he's going to have to learn to play with, and so not re-aggravating would obviously be very important. If you can't 100% fix this whatever you called it, popliteus, I'm sure we could look into that and figure out more about it. But that's
I think what makes Demko so great is how he uses his legs and his knees while in the goalie position. He's really explosive, and how this is his first major leg injury that I know of is concerning, especially if it's never going to fully heal. Mm-hmm. So what to expect from Demko? Maybe they limit games. Maybe he becomes maybe a 35 starter, and he just gives you 30 good starts. I don't know.
It feels maybe a bit extreme.
He can also adjust how he plays the goalie position.
Yeah.
But I think it will affect his performance early on, and he'll have to adapt.
We'll see. Time will tell.
No, they're definitely a better team with him. So we'll definitely see. Like I said, if he's out traveling, I feel like that he's going to be, closer to being on the ice than being off of it. But the NHL also announced their 3 stars of the week. Earning the first star, obviously we should have known this coming into. I left this out of the news and notes for a reason. But Connor McDavid also had his 1,000th point this past week. He had 3 goals, 5 assists, and 3 games played on the week as well. Did you guys have anything to touch on with the Century Club there? Or I guess it's not the Century Club times 10. What is it, the Millennium Club, right?
There you go, yeah. Millennium Club. I mean, what's there to say? Connor McDavid's really good at hockey. What else?
There it is. There it is.
He's so good.
Breaking news.
There's nothing really to say. We're speechless out of boredom, not out of.
Yeah, this guy's really good.
Yeah,
as reported on. You could say this. You could add. I think Graham and I were joking about this on the phone the other night. There is a very real possibility that in 10, 12 years from now, near the end of his career, he's pushing 2,000. And I don't know about you, but there's only one other player that's ever done that. I'll give you a guess. And
Jack Roslovic?
Cam Neely.
Jack Roslovic. Cam Neely. Those are great answers. Great answers.
Nice. Yeah, Cam Neely. There you go.
Yes, I think that's pretty fun. Congratulations, 1,000 points. But I'm more curious about, is he going to get to the Millennium Club times 2, as Dalton with math. Dalton with Matthew there. But
big moment for him. Wow. Let's celebrate the milestones as they happen.
Yes.
As we learned this week, his injuries can slow down the chase. So, props to him.
Appreciate greatness while we get to see it.
We're spoiled right now as hockey fans.
We are.
And then Marchment had a pretty good week. Mason Marchment had a really good week as well for the Dallas Stars. He had 4 games played. He had 3 games played, 4 goals, 5 assists in those 3 games. So pretty good week there. And then Vasilevsky rounding out the 3 stars. He had 2 wins, a 0.5 goals against, with also a .981 save percentage, and also pitched a shutout. So the Bolts played a baseball score tonight. basically against the Jackets. So they had to give the Vasi wasn't in net, don't worry. So it didn't really ruin this whole segment, but he was the third star of the week. But we also wanted to get into the other news that happened this week and talk about what happened in Boston. So for everyone that isn't aware of by now, Tuesday night, Jim Montgomery was let go from the Boston Bruins after 2 seasons and 20 games. So whatever that comes out to, probably right around 140 games, I'd say. I think he did occur. Right here. He had 161 games. He was 120-41 in his time in Boston. The first year he took over, they actually set the point record and the wins record that year for the NHL that still stands. So how shocking is this from a I don't know. I don't know if are we hockey insiders? Are we journalists? Or are we just opinionists? Whatever from our standpoint. What about this is so interesting? Other than my victory lap, I'm going to take at some point.
I think that no coach is safe in the NHL. I think that there's a roulette wheel of coaches that will come in and out of this league whenever a team is struggling. His record speaks for himself. He's a great personality. All his players love him. Other coaches love him. And it's a big shock throughout the league that he, got fired. Now, this isn't strictly points related. They were negotiating his next contract. They have it a standstill. So the timing of it isn't strictly because they lost the Jackets and the record was low. It was, look, if things continue to go this way, we can still pivot and get a new coach for at least the next 2/3 of this season and moving forward. So business does always take over in the NHL and in life. So I think it's a business decision. I hate to see a guy like that, as accomplished as he is, get cut short. But that's just kind of the league that they play in now.
I think that with this business is results based, and a lot of the stats that we just cited were regular season. And when you go look at his playoff success or lack thereof, it's a little more stark of a contrast in comparison to the regular season success. And if you just look at the playoffs and how you said they set that record that year, what happened in the first round? They were up 3-1 on the Panthers, and they blew it. That's not just a bad loss. That is unacceptable. That is literally unacceptable. Watching Bergeron have to high-five all of his teammates off of the ice in basic tears was rough. And then they follow that up with an even better start in the next regular season. What happened in the next round of the playoffs? Yeah, they won one round, which was a gimme. They played the Leafs. Duh. But then what happened in the second round this last year? Again, they looked wildly outmatched in the second round. It was not particularly close. So is this surprising given his regular season success? Sure. Is he a good coach? Yes. It's not saying he's a bad coach. You don't have all that success and ignore it. But when it matters, they kind of flopped. So,
one team figured out Montgomery and the Bruins.
Fair. But you got to beat good teams, man, to win the cup.
Are you attributing the Florida Panthers to the firing of Montgomery?
Well, yes, but not.
So Paul Maurice costed Montgomery his job?
Now you're cherry picking a little bit. Aren't you?
You're talking playoffs. I
am. You got to beat good teams, man. Dude, how many times have the Leafs lost to Boston?
Anyone in the first round.
Yeah. Man, you got to beat good teams if you want to go deep. It just happened to be the same team twice in these 2 years. I think that's purely.
And then you're going to argue the greatest season of all time and then losing in the first round when literally Tampa did the exact same thing, a year or two before that. And they didn't fire their coach.
They ran it back.
And then they won cups.
They did.
Yeah, exactly.
They did.
So
Boston ran it back. They got skunked again in the second round, and they have a shitty start to this season. I don't know, man. Like
this season, we can talk about this season though. There's a lot that kind of screamed trouble, at least early on in the season. I'm not writing off the Boston Bruins. I do think
you'd be a
still
fool
a good team.
You'd be a fucking fool to write off the Boston Bruins. You know what? You know what's going to happen. We haven't even touched on this yet. You know what's going to happen. It's in a later segment. We'll leave it there. You know what's going to happen.
But I mean, Marchand came off of how many surgeries in the offseason, and you expect him to come back prime Marchand, who's already like 2 years out of his prime as is. Then you have constantly calling out Pasternak, starting in the playoffs last year, and Swayman missed all training camp because of negotiations. You had way too many red flags to start the year.
So
and
that's
what's happening?
That's a great point. I also would argue Sweeney's been garbage for a little while now. That Elias Lindholm signing and Zadorov signing look awful right now. They don't look that good. There's something wrong. And it's
they're position fillers. They needed centers that like Boston's known for big defensemen. Zadorov fits that build. You got to fill the holes that were left with Bergeron, Krejci.
Oh yeah, Lindholm. Tick that box. Bergeron.
You saw who was there in free agency.
I'm just saying, like, that's not a replacement for Patrice Bergeron. Like,
I didn't say replace. I said filler.
Fair. The insinuation is, yes, less. But I don't know, man. Like, I think Sweeney should be gone too, personally. I don't think he should be given another bullet. And he gets the easiest bullet of all time. God, we need to get the shot or no shot, because I need to go off on this. Anyways, like, I do think Sweeney should be gone too. I don't think it's just Jim Montgomery's fault. I think the roster, to me, is flawed. There's something flawed about it. And you're telling me you were haggling with Jeremy Swayman over $200,000, or not $200,000. No, yeah, it was like $200,000 per year. Now, over the course of 8 years, that's like $1.5 million. But you're haggling with your franchise goalie over $200,000 a year. Sweeney.
Well, Swayman also said he never directly got that offer when they went public.
Which is even worse when you think about how that all played out. That's even worse. That's a PR nightmare. I don't know, man. Like I said, Sweeney should be gone too. I don't think this is purely Jim Montgomery's fault.
No, this reminds me a lot of the Edmonton Oilers last year with their firing early on in the season.
Oh, God, I hope not. Because that means they're going to go to the Cup final this year, and that's just going to be fucking sick.
Yeah, and I'd look like a real dipshit from my preseason prediction. It would put a real damper on my victory lap that I want to take. So I guess we should mention in the meantime, Joe Sacco takes over, and I hope I'm saying that right. Sacco. Anyway, he's the intern coach for the time being. He was a player in the league previously. He's been with the Bruins since 2014. The Bruins are currently 31st in total team offense at 2.4 goals per game, and they're 28th in defense at like 3.14 goals allowed per game. So to Graham's point, for people writing Boston off, like the only way they can really go is up. They really can't get any worse. So put your boots on. It's going to get real deep. So, but to transition into one of everybody's favorite segments, such as Brock mentioned, we're going to get into shot or no shot. So again, I'm going to give you guys a question. You're going to tell me if it's got a shot or if it's not, or if it's got no shot to happen. So the first one up here, the Calgary Flames will be the surprise team to make the playoffs this year. Shot or no shot?
No shot.
Yeah, no shot.
Look, it'll be more surprising because they are going to fire sale their roster and go full rebuild.
I think they've been just propped up by some decent defense, and Dustin Wolf's on a heater right now. When Dustin Wolf gets tired, I think that the ground just crumbles away. And yeah,
I do believe in Dustin Wolf.
Oh, absolutely, long term for sure. Great goalie to build around. He's shown he can do it, but he can't take this team to the play. And even if they did make the playoffs, like, are they beating Vegas? Are they beating Edmonton?
That's not the shot or no shot, though. It's do they get there?
That's fair. I still say no shot, but not convinced.
I don't know. They're currently in a playoff spot, and we're about a quarter way through the season. So keep your eye on that. They do lead the league in 5-on-5 save percentage. I did look that up today for the the statty daddy, if you will. So just to drop you a little nugget here or there, but we'll see what happens moving forward. So next shot or no shot here is the Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes will be the team to represent the East in the Cup final this year. Shot or no shot?
I say no shot just because I get the field.
It is true when you're taking bets like this, like just take the field. You're probably going to win.
Yeah, but
no, that's not the question, though. That's not the question. Is there a shot? Yes.
There's absolutely a shot.
There is a shot. They have cap space, not a ton, but they have moves they can still make. They've got a decent prospect pool still. Like they're not as like deep as they used to be. They've still got this one defenseman in Russia coming next year.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember his name. I think it's like Nikitin or
Bye-bye Gostisbehere.
Oh, yeah. He's Gostisbehere's filler until this guy comes over. He looks like a stud. But that's next year. Yes, there is absolutely a shot. They're playing well, and they can still add, like, good, meaningful pieces. They could go out and add Gensel again if they want to. Not maybe this year's Jake Gensel, not actual Jake Gensel. Like, they have moves they can make, and they're
Who would that be?
Teams still think you got to see who comes. Like you got to see who falls out of the race, right? Like you don't know. Like what if the Calgary Flames become sellers? All of a sudden, Rasmus Anderson becomes the best defenseman you could possibly get this year. If they become sellers, if they're not, though, then the next best defenseman will be somewhere else, wherever that is. It just depends on who falls out. It's a little early to start doing trade bait. Even though I'm sure you could. I'm sure if we wanted to, we can go around and look at like. You know,
we're not doing that today.
Yeah, no. We're speculating.
We
can prep that. We can prep something. No shot.
Yeah, well, even you already called it the trade bait segment, so all right, fair enough. So, all right, the next one up here. This is one of my. I'm telling you, I got a theory working on this. I'm looking at books as it's happening, but Connor Hellebuyck will win the Vezina and the Hart Trophy. So I have gone back and did some research. This has happened before, more often than probably than you would think. The last time it's happened was Carey Price in 2014, 2015, but it has happened 8 times in league history. So you think it would be a little more out there, I think, at least in my mind I did. I knew it was probably single digits, but that's actually a little bit higher than what I would have thought.
Do you want me to go first?
Shot or no shot? Connor Hellebuyck, what do you think?
No, go ahead, Graham. No. Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely a shot. I think that the Hart's kind of based off of perception. Like they don't just necessarily give it to the best player in the league. So you have to carry the team. I think Hellebuyck has reached that level that Carey Price has had. I'm just saying Price because he was the most recent. I think that Winnipeg has a lot of great pieces that could also go up for the Hart. But just kind of, I mean, Kyle Connor scoring like a bunch. So
Hart Trophy though, let's maybe pump the brakes.
Perception, man.
Kyle Connor winning the Hart. That's
perception.
I'd
give it to Hellebuyck.
Yeah, I think Hellebuyck is a much more special case because he's literally been the best goalie in the league for the better part of the last like half decade. Last like 3, 4, 5 years, like again, regular season. That's what the Vezina and Hart Trophy are. They're regular season awards. Let's not look at his playoff record. That's a little sad. But I'm nitpicking the Kyle Connor take. I will.
He's having a great year too. I'm saying they're winning games in many different ways. That it's not strictly Hellebuyck that's getting them wins.
That is 100% true. That I can't argue with that. That is 100% true. I will say this.
The question was shot or no shot. That was.
I say shot. I say shot.
We both are definitely saying shot. I think we can agree on that.
Was this supposed to be a fast segment, by the way?
No, it was
more like pumping the brakes on every single one of these. I do want to say this. If a goalie wins the Hart Trophy, they have to win the Vezina. So, of course, if they win Hart, they would also subsequently win the Vezina. There's no way, and I don't know this. Can we have the stats department look this up? Dak, can you look into this? Has the goalie ever won the Hart Trophy but not the Vezina?
Okay.
That feels impossible, right? One can't necessarily, one directly affects the other, as I guess we're going. Like if the goalie wins the Hart, of course they won the Vezina. They have to, right? They're declared the
No.
best player in the league. How are they not the best goalie?
You can put up the best stats.
Well, I don't know. I think you're getting a little too into.
I think it's very likely.
I think it has to be a 1-to-1 thing because there's no way you can logic that to make sense. Like then you're really getting into the Hart trophies and opinion piece. You know what I mean? It's perception, like you said. Then you're really getting it. But that's what I'm saying. Like you're getting really into the weeds. Like you have to be able to defend your point. You can't just say, I think Kyle Connor should win the Hart Trophy. There's got to be something to back it up. You know what I mean? Like if I compare him to, I don't know. Like you could use actually an argument for what you're saying is the year Taylor Hall won. Like if you go back and look at that, Nathan McKinnon should have won. But perception at the time. Perception
because
at
the
the time.
Devils were not supposed to be a playoff team.
That's a great.
He had a career year.
Now he had really, really good numbers. Like they weren't.
Of course he did.
They weren't McKinnon.
Yeah, they don't just give people Hart trophies.
Well, that's where I'm trying to. That's
sure?
not what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like that's not what you're saying. But it kind of sounds. It's kind of like what we said earlier. It has a hint of. It sounds. It's a flavor thing. It has a flavor of. They just give it to whoever they perceive to get it. So that's not what you're saying. Like, so yeah, okay. Dalton, did we get the stat, or are we gonna save that for next time?
So stat department, it shows that I can't tell. I can't clarify, but when I Googled if a goalie's ever won one but not the other, it just showed me the goalies had won the Hart Trophy. So I'm assuming they did win the best of the two.
You would have to quickly compare it, but that would take some more time. We can maybe put a star there because I'd like to know the answer.
Follow up for next pod.
We should do a follow up on the next pod on that. I'd like to know
to your point, I think it's impossible. To your point, to not win one or not to not win the Hart Trophy and win the best.
Yes, I don't think that would ever make sense. That can't happen. It does not logically make sense to me.
Well, I think people should start putting future bets on him to win both. I think it's a smart bet right now. So we'll see. We'll see.
Not a bad bet, that's for sure.
They keep making history, then he's going to have a shot. That's all I got to say. So the next shot or no shot. So you guys talk about I always love listening to our playoff predictions and comparing how we're doing. So the shot or no shot, none of the Eastern playoff teams will change. So currently we have Toronto, Florida, Tampa, Carolina, Washington, New Jersey, and then the two wild card spots are the Rangers and the Sabres. So shot or no shot, those teams will not be out of the playoffs come playoff time. They just may be seated differently. It means that you're leaving out the Islanders, the Bruins, the Senators, the Flyers, and the Penguins.
No shot.
No shot?
No shot. They stay the same.
So who falls out?
Buffalo for Boston's an easy pick. But there's also a world where...
Is it?
What do you mean, is it? Boston getting in over Buffalo?
Buffalo is scoring at the third highest rate 5-on-5 right now. They have the second highest shooting percentage as well, or third highest shooting percentage.
How are they doing defensively?
UPL has been really hot the last 5 or 6 games actually.
So we're betting
He's
on
playing better than Swayman.
And hey, no argument there.
Yeah.
So we're betting on UPL and decent scoring rate scoring touch right now.
There is something to be said that come American Thanksgiving, the teams that are in a playoff spot are likely ending up in a playoff spot.
That's a week away.
Typically,
that's a week away.
One team. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
It's a week away.
Yes. So if there's ever a week to get hot, this is it.
This is it, baby.
This is the most important week of the season.
Yeah, this is it. Nice.
I will say shot, but I
personally don't.
Unlikely, but there is a shot.
I don't think there's a shot. I'm pretty confident.
Wow, he's confident in this. This is interesting. I thought this would be flipped. I really did. I really thought writing this that Brock would go shot and Graham would go no shot. You guys surprise me every time. I swear.
That's why we play. That's why we record
it's time to play the game. Yeah, bicep and tricep hard, baby. But the next shot or no shot that we had on tap here. So I know this is the one that Brock has been waiting for. So we'll let him go first. But shot or no shot, Joel Quenneville will be the next head coach of the Boston Bruins.
There is not. Like, this is not even just like a shot. Like, this is blank check. I will bet anything. This is happening. And then they're going to go on a tear. And they're going to somehow be second. Toronto will be third in the playoffs in the Atlantic Division. and they're going to get absolutely fucking shit. The Leafs are going to get shit on in 7 because, of course, in 7. This is like, yes, not just a shot. This is happening. Book it. Can you bet on this? Go bet. Do it.
You probably have to go off. You have to go probably black market for that.
Ugh.
But I'm sure
You
you
could
can
be
bet on
costing people a lot of money, though.
Bro, should he even be allowed to coach? That's another discussion.
it. Well, we'll save that for a rainy day.
Anyway, yeah, it's happening. Shot.
I'm
Graham?
saying shot.
Yeah.
I mean, coaches with a great coaching pedigree in terms of results tend to go to bigger markets because they can afford to pay them more. There's no money against the cap when it comes to the coaching staff. So, yeah, they attract the bigger names. And Quenneville's a bigger name. He's got a couple cups. He's got his name on the cup a few times. So, yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't go after Quenneville if they don't have any morals.
Didn't they try to sign? What was that guy?
I mean, didn't they said they were to be negotiating in bad faith. So they had bad faith in negotiation with
speculation.
Montgomery. So
That's total speculation. I don't think we should repeat that here.
right, but it would make sense in this situation.
I mean,
So
kind of, but
it all kind of aligns if you look at it from that direction. That's all I'm gonna say.
well, absolutely. Who was the guy they tried to sign there? The guy that bullied the God damn it, bullied the boy in Ohio. Pardon?
No, I'm not.
He wouldn't apologize for it. He wouldn't apologize, and the Bruins signed him anyway because he is really good at hockey. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it didn't end up working out though. But yeah,
no, like the Bruins, like Bergeron and Marchand lost their shit.
Yeah,
on management, like they snapped.
Yeah.
Can we quickly Google this? Like, keep filling here, Graham.
No, I do remember the situation you're talking about. Yeah, management did. I think it was Cam Neely or Sweeney, whoever was in charge, got this kid, and the captains.
Mitchell Miller. That's who it was. Like that.
Yes, he bullied or made fun of, teased. Yeah. However, I believe it was a handicapped kid.
Yeah,
and did not apologize. And like,
yeah, it made him look like a lollipop that they rubbed in a urinal or something like that. Like it was friggin' gross.
And the leadership, the players did not like
they had none of it. Yeah, they had none of it.
He was a Boston Bruin for a couple of days. I don't think he played a game.
No, he just signed. He just that was the quickest 900 whatever grand for a 3-year deal that the kids ever made. The kid probably ran to sign that contract. Kid didn't care.
Yeah. So
Bruins literally just donated like $2.1 million. No, $2.7 million to like for nothing. Like it's yeah.
So yeah, morals and management don't really. Maybe they learn from that situation and look elsewhere. But I don't think Sacco remains the permanent coach. I think Boston's too big of a target.
He's been
an assistant coach for so long where they've already heard his voice. They already know what to expect from Sacco. So I think it's just kind of an interim situation.
Yeah. Does he remain head coach by come playoff time? No shot. That is no shot.
So even if they get hot, you're saying, even if like, because you're saying not to sell Boston. So if they get hot, Joe, he's not coming back. Like he could. You're telling me he can go get in the cup. He can go to the cup final. And let's just not even say they win. He goes to the cup final. You still think they're canning him? He's been there since 2014.
I think he can have a job in the NHL.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he's back to Boston, though. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a whole other shot or no shot. We should hit on that. We should do a follow-up on that one. Is Sacco the Boston Bruins head coach this time next year? Shot or no shot?
Shot or no shot? Okay. No, that's interesting. Well, we'll put that one to bed. I like that so far with the shot or no shot. But we are going to transition into, of course, everybody's favorite segment of the week, and this is not just because this is our show, but it's just because it makes everybody a little smarter. It's time for the fantasy corner with Canadaddy. So, Canadaddy, take it away. Make us smarter on teams this week, would you?
Okay. Next week, with it being American Thanksgiving, it is a bit of a nightmare when it comes to streaming. So, as usual, before I start this little segment, The goal here is to always maximize your games played. Don't be dropping your 70, 80% owned players to try to make this work, especially on weeks like this. Drop your fringe guys that are fringe top 6, fringe second power play. Get rid of those for other streamer options, but you're always trying to max these starts. So next week, teams to target, Boston, Montreal, Vancouver have far and away the best schedule. They play 4 times and they play 2 off nights. And there are 5 other teams that play the Sunday next week, which is an off night: Anaheim, Dallas, Detroit, Ottawa, Winnipeg. I didn't want to suggest any specific players because of how many options there are here. Again, go look at your team, figure out what's like best for flexibility wise on your team, and add those players accordingly. Like if Mason Marchment is still available, yeah, try to stream him in from a Dallas. But teams you will probably want to fade from would be Toronto and Edmonton. They only play twice next week, and they're both on very busy days. So if you have someone like a Matthew Nyes, you probably want to stream him out for somebody like that Mason Marchment I just mentioned because of the better schedule. That's just an example. But yeah, you're trying to limit the amount of low games where there's only like 2. Next week, there's what did I say earlier? There's only 7 teams that play less than 4 times. I think 25 teams play 4 times, which is crazy. That's also why it's so busy, because there's no games on Thursday next week. So yeah, stream out Toronto, Edmonton, stream in Boston, Montreal, Vancouver, Anaheim, Dallas, Detroit, Ottawa, Winnipeg, and not necessarily that order, but again, depending on how deep your league is, who's available, etc., maximize those starts. Now that you know the schedule next week, this is the tweak we're going to do. We're going to do, instead of buy low, sell high here, we're going to do something called sustainable or unsustainable for any particular fantasy player. Now, I had my 2 wonderful co-hosts here. I had them pick some players that they were curious about, and I'm going to ask them if their current level of production, whether it be slow, fast, hot, cold, whatever, if it's sustainable or unsustainable. Now, our first one up is someone that at least our friend group is just loving right now with how well he's producing. And I think I think both of you know what I'm going to say, but we're going to do this anyway. Is Jack Roslovic sustainable or unsustainable with his current production? Dalton, go first.
I think it's sustainable. Now, he doesn't fill a lot of the other categories. He's definitely shoot and he'll shoot and score, and that's about it when you look at his stat line. But I think the Jackets could really use a player like him. I think he would look real good in a Jackets jersey. It's too bad that he doesn't play there. But it's sustainable. I think he's playing with a lot of good talent too. I think he gets covered in that system. A lot of the attention doesn't go to him, and he's getting an opportunity to, kind of feed off of other talented players around him. The Ahos, the Svechnikovs of the world, if you will.
Okay, Graham.
I do not agree. I'm going to take the layup and say unsustainable.
This is why I went to Dalton first, because you would be 100%
I'm an optimist.
Correct. The team is shooting at 10% at 5-on-5 when he's on the ice. His IPP is 85%. IPP, in case we haven't cited that stat on this podcast yet, individual points percentage. That is the amount of times you're on the ice and a point is scored or goal is scored. You are in on that goal. For context, McDavid, the best player on the planet, averages around 80. Jack Roslovic is at 85% IPP. So, no, this is completely unsustainable.
We don't know his offseason training. We just know he was the best player last year.
He's shooting at 22.9%, double his career average.
Is that good?
That's unbelievable. He has 100% secondary assists, so every single one of his assists are secondary. You want me to keep going, or are you guys satisfied with?
We're satisfied.
That's a fun stat. That's a fun stat.
Do you stream him in? Yes or no? If you need a streamer from Carolina, do you stream him in?
Well, Carolina doesn't have a very good schedule next week, so
it's a yes or no.
I would lean no, but he's hot, so if you did, I wouldn't fault you for it.
All right.
Moving right along. Next up on our list, Dalton, Dak, Tage Thompson. Tage Thompson, sustainable or unsustainable?
I would say sustainable. Unfortunately, obviously the injuries never. I feel like that never makes you optimistic that he's going to just pick up with any player right where they left off. He's been playing really well this season. He's proven to be a 90-point to 100-point player in years past, and he seems to have a lot of continuity with Tuck. And like I said before, Buffalo is in the top 3 or 4 teams in the league on 5-on-5 shooting percentage and scoring. So I think it could be sustainable.
Okay. Graham?
I think it's sustainable, but I don't really know who Tage Thompson is yet as a player in terms of his production. 2 years ago, this is kind of what we saw from Tage. Last year, there was obviously regression. So I don't know what to expect, but seeing as how he's done it before, I want to say sustainable.
This is a
The
good
one thing
pick.
that
Go ahead.
the one thing that does scare me with him is he seems to be passive more. Just in the beginning of this year, like he's only I was kind of betting his shot totals in the beginning of the year, and he was struggling to get 3. It seemed like he was either getting, and then it went to a certain stage. The last couple games before he got hurt, he was getting a couple. Like you'd see a couple more games with more than 3, but he lives
11.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. He had that big game, and then before that, though, living up to it, he had he'll have 2 or 0 or 1 or maybe 3 or it just. I feel like his shot volume needs to be higher, and that's the only thing that would scare me with him being not sustainable.
Okay. This is why this one's a good one, because it's a bit of both. You can see a lot of things that are sustainable and a lot of things that aren't. For example, he's shooting at 21.6%. His career average is closer to 13, but his last 3 years he's been closer to 15, 16. So that suggests regression, but not a ton. At 5-on-5, they're shooting 13.2%. That screams regression. However, when you look at his IPP and his secondary assist rate, IPP being 75, that's a little high, especially for him. But the year he had his massive blowout, he was 74 on the year. So it's doable. But of his 7 assists this year, he hasn't had a single secondary assist. So he's driving some of the play himself. So he's more unsustainable than sustainable, but it's definitely a murky, it's in the middle. It's in the middle. Like, is he a 90-plus point player? The jury is out. Kind of like what you suggested, Graham. The jury is definitely out. It looks like you need more information. Like the year he went boom, last year he was bust. We need more information is what I would conclude here. I would bet on the 90-plus point player just based on how dominant he's been. I think it's more injuries that are hampering him. But this is why this is a good one, because he's definitely a murky in the middle. Right now, more unsustainable than sustainable, but again, he's pacing for right now 92 points. So if he regresses a little bit to like 80, 85, that's still a great player. So do with that what you will. Okay, and last up, we're going to do Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets, who are off to a wonderful start, as we highlighted earlier with our Hellebuck conversations. Dak, is Mark Scheifele sustainable or unsustainable? And why?
I think a better question is Mark Scheifele the most underrated draft pick this year? Like, is this the most underrated player in fantasy drafts? Because you were getting this man outside of the top 100. I know consistent. I did in a couple, like in the 130. So I haven't looked too much into the numbers. I mean, he is a good player outside of the dirty plays that he's had. I know he's had like 1 or 2. I think he had a couple of dirty plays in his career. Didn't he get suspended like in a playoff game or something like that, if I can vaguely remember?
Yeah.
But I mean, he is a good player. He just had a hat trick the other night too. So I haven't looked too much at the numbers, but I'm an optimist. I'll say sustainable, but again, I think this is probably the most underrated draft. Like, this is the best value pick of this year by far so far.
I think that would be a fair statement. I think that's not crazy. Graham?
Unsustainable. I think that
outside of Jack Boslovic, of course.
we've had enough of a sample size in Scheifele's career as to like we can know what to expect, and he's like a B plus Sebastian Aho. Like you got to expect 70 to 75 points. Aho gets you 80 to 85 consistently. So I think Scheifele's pacing well above that. I do think he'll come down gradually. I don't think he'll go ice cold. So this could be a career year just given the start he's had. But I still think that it comes down, but it still can be higher than any season he's had. So unsustainable, given the pace he's on.
Okay. Do you know off the top of your head what he's pacing for?
No, I made it a point not to look at any of this.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. He's currently pacing for 104 points for context. He's shooting at 26.7%. Now that is unsustainably high. That's going to come down. However, if you regress it to what he's been shooting at for the last 3 years, that is only he's been averaging 19.5% for the last 3 years. If you regress him back that 8%, really you're only gonna lose. Maybe he's had 45 shots. If you regress 10% of that back, he would theoretically only lose like 3-ish goals, give or take, which would put him at a 21 points in 19 games, which is much closer to his career average at being around or just below a point per game. So with that being said, when you look at, like Graham said, the really consistent Mark Scheifele is quite consistent. The only thing that's high this year is his shooting percentage. His IPP, almost identical. 68.6. Last year, 66.7. Year before that, 63. Year before that, 68. They are only scoring a little bit more than they should right now. So Mark Scheifele is very sustainable. You're only going to see him regress a little bit in goals. This is very sustainable. The Jets are fucking phenomenal this year. Everyone's playing well. This will continue. So if you can get Mark Scheifele for, maybe not Sebastian Aho, but
Jack Hughes.
Whoa, relax. Relax. If you could go get Scheifele for, say, a Trocheck, if you're not in maybe a bangers heavy league, I might try to swing on that because I think Scheifele and the Jets are for real. They are playing incredibly well this year. And like I said, the only thing that's going to regress a little bit are his goals. That's it. He's scored maybe 3 or 4 more goals than he should have by now. That's it. Everything else is super duper sustainable and very similar, eerily similar. He is so consistent year to year. It's crazy.
Be careful classifying how much this is, by the way. It's never a good life rule. Yeah, I was gonna say never be like you said, a little bit of regression.
Pretty easy. In
that's
society.
And that has been your fantasy corner. We'll have to do this again sometime. I quite enjoyed that.
Nice. Well, we appreciate you doing a little bit of the homework there. Hopefully, we help somebody out in fantasy coming up this week. Let us be the first to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. By the way, we might have an episode for you. Yeah, American Thanksgiving. Sorry. Yeah, shout out to all our Canadian listeners. By the way, we do love you guys. We do see you, and by we mean the analytics department that checks our listener demographic. Shout out to them; they do a remarkable job. But instead of power rankings this week, we wanted to do a little bit of a spin. So we're doing the between the benches powerless rankings. So we're going to rank the bottom 5 teams according to our professional analysts. So guys, whenever you want to take it away, whoever wants to go first, this is going to be interesting. I don't want to throw anybody's, under the bus, if you will.
I mean, I'll go. I was going to say,
I'll have to look at my phone, but I'll go because I remember. All right, are we starting kind of like the power rankings where it's 5 to 1?
5 to 1.
So 1 being the worst.
Correct.
The worst, the worst is last. Yeah.
Number 5, my current 5th worst team in the NHL. We all predicted them to be in the playoffs. They are not in the playoffs. Nashville Predators. I'm starting to get impatient. I don't think that they're going to get much better. I think that Barry Trotz is even more impatient than I am, so I could see him making moves that cost them success this season. But they still have a lot of talent on that roster that they can make it happen. But this week, they're number 5. Number 4, St. Louis. I think losing Robert Thomas, I think losing Torrey Krug. St. Louis already isn't the deepest. I was excited with the offer sheets just because they're exciting young players. but they don't have a whole lot. Kyrou can take them as far as they can. You're relying on Falk. And I mean, Bennington got him a cup, and that's about it for a career. Who else we got? Anaheim. I think, again, they're just a really young team. Bright future ahead. It's not their time. Montreal. It could be different when Laine comes back, but they're not playing that well. And number 1, San Jose. We all kind of saw this coming. So
Yeah.
These aren't shocking. Like, these aren't going to shock anybody.
I thought St. Louis might have, turned it.
I think it's interesting you have St. Louis worse than Chicago. I think that's interesting. You have St. Louis worse than Chicago. So I will go next. I also think Nashville is the 5th worst team right now. Not a lot positive to kind of scrape at anymore. I know we talked about some of their metrics on earlier pods, and I kept preaching patience, but even now, like Graham said, not a lot to be patient about. And then I had Detroit at 4. It's just been a mess for Detroit. Like, after just missing the playoffs last year, I did not think they'd be this bad out of the gate, but here we are. Montreal, I had 3 for similar reasons. Graham had them at 2. Defensively, it's pathetic. Like if I was a Montreal fan, I'd be apoplectic watching the court. Like, just awful. And 2, San Jose, and for similar reasons to Graham, it's just the state of affairs in San Jose right now. Like, they're not good. They won't be for a little while. But they're fun to watch. They're scoring a bit, so that's good. And then I have Chicago as the worst team in the league. That's why I thought it was interesting that you had St. Louis above them. They just haven't been good. Like, they can't defend. They can't score. Like, when Bedard gets shut down, I don't understand what you're saying, Dalton. Go cite me one positive thing about their goal scoring. One. When Bedard
Timo Teravainen scores on the power play pretty frequently.
He has 1 on the year, I'm pretty sure.
2, I think.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Sorry.
The second one was tonight.
Like, when Bedard doesn't score, it's not fun. It's pretty sad.
Hey, Soderblom has been a bright spot in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
Dalton's biased. He lives in the Windy City.
Yeah. There's lots to be excited about. But we don't have time for that. But in my powerless rankings, I have a little switcheroo that I'm doing here. So at 5, I have Columbus. I think they're similar to Anaheim, but I think they're closer to like their end goal. Like, I think the Jackets are maybe 2 years away, while the Ducks are 4 years away. We'll see, but neither here nor there. 4, I have Detroit. I'm with you, Brock. They don't score enough. They don't shoot enough. They look really slow. Like, the only thing saving them is their power play. Like, they're like top 5 in the league, I think, in power play percentage, and that's like the only time they score, which is really funny. Yeah, when you look into all their other metrics, it's really funny. So, number 3, I have Montreal. Outside of Montembeault, they haven't really had a lot of bright spots. Lane Hudson had a hot start, but he's kind of disappeared in recent time.
Caulfield's been scoring.
Caulfield has been scoring. He's gotten, Montembeault has 2 shutouts this year, and they're both against like the best scoring teams in the league, which I think is hilarious. He shut out Toronto like the first night of the season, had like 42 saves, right? And then he shuts out he shuts out Edmonton the other night. I think he had like 35 or something like that. So, talk about hot and cold. Number 2, I had Anaheim. Again, they're really young. Damn it, their goal. Lucas Dostal. He's been Dostal. He's been actually pretty solid in that. He had a rocky start, but he's been pretty solid. They're getting Gibson back, which it's not going to affect anything other than maybe his trade value. But and then number 1, I had San Jose. To everybody else's point. Yeah, exactly. So, and then like I said, number 1 was San Jose. To everybody else's point, kind of saw it coming, and basically, hopefully the kids stay healthy. Celebrini, Will Smith, and they play well. They're basically a developmental team at this point. So we'll see if that changes throughout the year, but I highly doubt it. So, but yeah, instead of the top 5 teams this week, wanted to give you the bottom 5. If anything, we should call this like the 2026 draft outlook, or like who's going to win the draft lottery lookout or whatever.
Yeah, towards the end of the season. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're working on the branding. We'll get the branding department on it, and we'll get something situated. But we also want to give you an update on our pointless players. Brock is still waiting. He's still waiting on Ryan Graves from the Penguins to score.
I'm so close.
Brock has 4 of 5. Graham has 3 of 5 players. You're waiting on Husso Valimaki to score, and then also Zamungas. Oh boy, Jurgensen's. Yeah, Jurgensen's. So we're waiting on, and then I'm waiting on Luke Glendening, and then unfortunately I'm going to be waiting on Mike Riley for a while. Shout out to him. Hope he does get better. Yeah, okay. I guess I'm going to automatically lose this bet. I'm hoping at this point somebody else joins me.
No, Ryan Graves on this current pace is never going to score again. So
we are all on the same pace of 0.
Yeah, they're all on the same pace of 0. So
yeah,
relax.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll have a tandem. But yeah, that's your pointless power update brought to you by the Black Hammer. So shout out to Brunswick. We're going to transition into we're going to transition into the negative side of us podcast. That's sponsored by Hammer, and it's also going to be hammering somebody into the bin. So Graham, who are you putting in the bin this week? Who are you hammering in the bin, if you will?
Okay.
I am going to hammer Jamar Chase. So
why
anyone who may not know, Jamar Chase is a wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. Dalton, fact check me. Is that true? Yes.
Yeah.
I knew it. So really he scored a touchdown and proceeded to celebrate and received the largest fine from the NFL for a celebration.
What did he do? Did he show his rear end?
He might as well have. He whipped out a towel-like thing and proceeded to wipe the butt of the ball. So the reason why this fine is so high is because Jamar Chase is personally sponsored by Dude Wipes, a company that specializes in wiping butts.
Nice.
So Dude Wipes is not an NFL sponsor. So the NFL hammered Jamar Chase with the fine. And Jamar Chase isn't going to pay any of it because Dude Wipes claimed that they would pay the full penalty. And on top of that, I think Jamar Chase is going to make $1 million because of the in-game advertising that he provided them with. So I hope that this is not a future marketing strategy in pro sports. Just because I think there's no place in it, but everyone's got to chase the money.
Yeah, I'll do just about anything for $1 million, Graham. I'll wipe the butt of a ball. Hell yeah.
I hope no one's sponsored by Remington on the side, you know? Like,
yeah, what if Ovi scores a goal, but his sponsor's like X-Lax and just shits on the ice?
There you go. Yeah, Beano. Yeah, maybe he just got really bad gas. Hell yeah.
We gotta move this one along. This is too.
He forgot his brown pass.
We don't have guidance.
So, all right, Brock.
Oh, I'm putting it in. I've been wanting
to do this.
I've been wanting to do this for well over a week. The fact that Colin, and that's how he wants his name said, not Colin, Colin Campbell, is gone into the Hockey Hall of Fame is an absolute travesty. I could literally do 5 minutes on this. He was caught emailing, and again, he still works in the NHL, which is fucking disgraceful. Caught emailing, I believe it was the head of the referees or something, trying to get certain refs fired for calling penalties on his son. It's all documented. It all came out in court. All these emails are real, and that's literally tampering. That's physical tampering. And then something about the 2011 final where he was on the Boston Bruins, the cup winning Boston Bruins. That was 2011, right? Or was that 2010? 2011. Let's say 2011, where they beat Vancouver. And the refs just all of a sudden stopped calling penalties in the final. And this shit's been linked to that. It's a mess. Yeah.
Well, it surrounds Mark Savard.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that tidbit of the story. Yeah, he called him a rat or something like that. He literally said
it's a very dirty play.
I should have prepped a little bit more facts here to talk about, but I didn't want to drag this.
I'm not doing your bin for you. Continue.
You should, because you clearly have more facts than I do. All I knew was I'm like bin. There's a whole story. If you want more specifics, Google it, because this is supposed to be a quick segment, so I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah,
it's disgraceful that he's in the Hall of Fame.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, Colin Campbell. Maybe he should be sponsored by Dude Wipes.
Stupid fucking name. He should be. What a stupid for his colon.
He should.
Yeah, for his colon.
Yeah.
Not for his Campbell.
Yeah. Well, duh. That's a soup, right? Anyway, so I'm putting Jack McBain. Yeah, something like that. In the bin. So to bring it back up, kind of go full circle here. Jack McBain is the man who injured Ovi and fractured his left fibula. So the game was essentially decided. It was 6-2 when all this happened. It was towards the end of the third period when Ovi got hurt. So I'm just putting him in the bin. He's putting history in jeopardy. You know, the play was a little unnecessary when the game was 6-2 and it's like 5.5 minutes left in the third period, I think, from what I remember. But yeah, in the bin for that reason alone. Yeah, no, don't play the not necessarily. He's a dinosaur out there. Come on, right? Like, come on. What are we talking about? So. Anyway, Jack McBain in the bin. Join Colin and Dude Wipes, and find yourself a nice place to sit. You're gonna be there for a while. So on the flip side, though, we got to get positive, right? So who are we giving the C to this week? Brock, take it away.
I mean, I feel like this is kind of like absolutely like poetic. I'm going to give the C to everybody else that was inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Mostly because Pavel Datsyuk is still my favorite player of all time. But also Shea Weber, Jeremy Roenick, Natalie Darwitz, Christy Wendell-Powell, Colin Campbell, and David Poile, who everyone outside of Colin Campbell absolutely deserves to go in. These were all great players. Datsyuk, I would have put him in the year he left the league, but I'm biased. So, yeah.
Everyone you have to wait 3 years. That's what I learned, by the way. You have to wait 3 years until you're done playing. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
But Gary Bettman still works in the league, and he's in there. That makes total sense. Still works for a league.
Weber was still getting paid.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So
rules are fucking arbitrary. Why isn't Yager in there? We could do a whole bit on this.
I'm just in Russia.
I'm fucking riled up right now. All of the other Hall of Famers that went in get the C.
Nice. Okay, well, fair enough. Well, Graham, who are you giving the C to this week?
I like fun hockey stats, and we have a new all-time face-off champion, I'll say. Sidney Crosby has now won more face-offs than anybody in the NHL.
Ever. Since they started tracking it.
Since they, he gets it. So there's so many assets to his game. That's great. So I'm going to give it to an underrated gift that he has, and he's earned it throughout his whole career. So Crosby.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first. Sidney Crosby, underrated. Grandpa.
Nice. Would you say your C is underrated just because he's underrated, or?
Crosby's not underrated. He's known for his playmaking.
That's what I heard.
Not necessarily known for being the all-time face-off guy. So, all-time face-off guy.
That's fair. So you
would
let
our audience know.
You would say you're aiding and abetting the all-time face-off king then.
Sure.
In his underrated C-ness.
Okay.
I wouldn't use that word.
I don't know where you're going with this.
A little upset that you use that word.
Anyway. All right. Well, okay. So my C this week, I have two. The first C is going to Andre Vasilevsky because he was the third star of the week last week, but he also became the fastest goaltender to reach 300 NHL victories. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but he blew the old record out of the water. The next closest, it took him 490 games to get 300. The next closest was 521. So he had 31 games to play with, which he's probably going to be the all-time wins leader, cross your fingers, obviously avoid injury, stuff like that. So he gets the first C. And then the second C is going to the NHL in general, the Hockey Beast Cancer movement, if you will. All the teams are doing that this month. It's kind of cool. I always like seeing the warm-up jerseys, the purples and pinks and all that kind of stuff. We all know somebody in our lives that's probably been affected by cancer. You know, it's a terrible disease, everything in between. But it's always cool to see, the NHL teams get back and do the nice things with like the Make-A-Wish kids and all this kind of stuff. So we'll give the C to NHL. And before we wrap this puppy up, do we have anything that we wanted to add before we get on out of here? Go on and get.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah.
It was a hiatus. That was a hiatus.
Yeah.
Sorry for the wait.
Yeah. I mean, we're just so damn beautiful, Yeah. So, well, perfect. Well, I'm your boy Dak. Thanks for joining in. This has been the Between the Benches podcast from Graham, Brock, myself. Make sure to check us out next week. We'll do power rankings again, probably give you another fantasy corner, do a little shot or no shot, and recap, obviously, all the action from Thanksgiving. So tune in next week, and we'll see you then.